All right, what's going on? So my buddy Chris Bankus is joining us today, and I just want to start out and say thank y'all for all the support, comments, and all that stuff on the cancer situation. Um, I don't really know what else to say other than just thank you, and it's going to be a long journey, but we're going to make it. So anyway, so there's that. So I want to talk about PARTHO stuff. For whatever reason, recently I've had a large number of PARTHO clutches, and unfortunately Brittany's not here. But Brittany has heard a lot of information about PARTHO and has actually had people argue with her, even though she's seen stuff that I've had here that is PARTHO. So I just want to. I don't know what's right and wrong. I'm not a scientist.
They were arguing in which manner?
They were saying that some clutches that I've given her animals to, or clutches that I've had, she was sharing experiences that have happened here at HWE, that there's no way those could be PARTHO. And they were arguing with her about it. And, well, again, I'm not a scientist. All I can tell you is experiences that I've had here. One thing that I do know 100% is PARTHOs are always female. So we know that much. And if you get a clutch of all females and you don't have any genetics from any of the sire, then odds are you have a PARTHO clutch. Is that guaranteed? No. But most of the time that's the case. For instance, I had a GHI Cinnamon Mojave a couple of years ago, and the entire clutch was black snakes or white snakes.
Okay.
They're all females. Also, I've noticed over the years that PARTHO, there's usually one or two that isn't good once the female lays, and some of them will go bad, and you'll only end up with a handful that hatch. Usually that handful, one or two of them will have some issues like missing eyeballs, kinks, things like that. All of those are telltale signs of PARTHO clutches. Again, that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes the eggs just go bad. Sometimes snakes just hatch with deformities.
Right.
But if all those stars line up in the right direction and you hatch a bunch of females and they don't had some problems and you lost some eggs and they don't have any genetics from the sire, then guess what?
It's most likely.
Most likely it's a PARTHO. Again, not always, just what I've noticed over the years. So one of the things that Brittany has been told is if it's a PARTHO clutch, all the genetics from the mom pass down to every baby. And that's simply not true.
So it should be an exact copy, is what they're saying?
Well, let's say, and again, I wasn't in these conversations, but if mom's a pastel, then all the babies should be super pastels.
Okay.
And that's not the way that works. Okay? It's not, you don't, there's a lot of information out there on the internet that does show that happens. But I can tell you from 20 plus PARTHO clutches that I've hatched over the years, that's not the way that works. For instance, we'll go back to that GHI Cinnamon Mojave we're talking about. Why are some of the animals solid white and some of them solid black, and some of them aren't white or black? If they have all the genes, then I don't know, have a gray snake. I mean, I don't know how the super bell, super black pastel, super cinnamon would look.
But they should all be the same.
But they should all be the same. And that has never happened in my case.
Well, you had a lavender one too, right? And you had super.
Yep, last year we had
blackhead lavs and regular lavenders, right?
Yep. Last year we had blackhead lavender female, lay a clutch of eggs, hatched them. They were all lavenders, but they were blackhead lavenders and super blackhead lavenders in that clutch, and they were all girls, and they were all no genes from the dad. So
there was no blackhead on the dad.
So actually, they were bred to a pied, so shouldn't have been even any lavenders in the clutch. But so that being said, I have a PARTHO clutch now that has a huge variety, and remember what I said about some of the eggs going bad? These eggs didn't go bad. This is why it's so surprising that this is a Partho clutch, because this is the first clutch of Partho babies that I've had that I know of that none of the eggs went bad through the process. So she laid 7 eggs, all 7 babies hatched. Never had that happen with a Partho clutch. So here's what the deal is. I got a KRG female from a good friend of mine last year, breeder female. She's previously bred that female to a het red xanthic and a pastel desert ghost. That's the only that she's gotten a clutch from this male, and she's gotten a clutch from this male. Sold all those babies, everything was fine. So this year, I paired the KRG female through our buddy Jake at Brew Balls. His advice was to put Inchy into it, so I used a Super Inchy Fire Leopard pod.
Right.
Jake also told me, hey, don't be surprised if you get pods. A lot of the KRG stuff is het pod.
Het pod, yeah.
So another reason why I used the pod. So Super Inchy Fire Leopard pod to a KRG, maybe het pod, if I'm lucky. As soon as the baby started hatching, I came out here and I seen a head sticking out of the egg, and I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting because it was an albino.
Right. Yep. I remember you messaged me.
So I'm like, this one's going to be odd. So, what I ended up getting is some pods because Mom's het pod. Found that out, but I also found out Mama's het albino. So in this clutch, we made 5 albinos, 3 of which are pod albinos, and then we made 2 that aren't pod or albino.
And Dad's not het albino supposed to be?
So all the babies are girls. Remember the part I said about Dad being super inchy?
Right.
None of these babies are inchy. None of them have fire. None of them have leopard. They're all female. One of them's missing an eye.
Random albinos.
2 of them are kinked slightly, and one of them hatched out of the egg and died immediately. So, let's show them off. All right, so this is a KRG or possible Super KRG from a Partho clutch. And some of these have already had meals. She is one of them. She's already took a meal for us.
So the KRG bands,
Yep.
right? From
So-
what I've been told.
Calabash reducing gene is what the KRG stands for. And yeah, it just makes it banded looking. So this girl seems to be doing fine. I haven't noticed any kinks. Doesn't appear to have anything really wrong with her. So if this came out of a clutch, if this was the only one that hatched from a clutch, you would just assume that it was just a KRG female that's het pod.
And she's feisty.
Oh yeah, this one's quite feisty. So you would, if this was the only one that made it in a clutch, you'd probably sell this animal as KRG het pod
Het pod.
because you wouldn't know any different. So that's the downside of these Partho clutches is you really don't know when it comes to the females out of the clutch, and you don't have several of them to go with. You may be hatching Partho clutches that you don't even know about.
And selling them on accident.
So something to think about. All right, so next up. Oh, this girl just shed. She was late for shedding. She's got a little stuck shed, so you're going to have to apologize about that. So this is a KRG albino, which looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks good.
I like the way it looks. So another albino, but I think this is the super. I think this is a super KRG albino.
And it's missing the eye.
And, yep, and she's missing an eye. And I think this one, yep, she's got a slight kink right here behind her neck. Pretty cool, huh? So again, I don't want to get these out of order because this one has had a meal. and I'm not going to show the third one off, just keep from messing them up. So there's another one that looks just like these two. So these are KRG albino pods, possible super KRGs. I don't know. I don't have a clue. So the other one looks just like this. But if the theory is true that the mom passes down all of the genetics that she is, then everything should be super KRG, and you should have had more pods.
I was going to say
albinos.
more albinos and more pods.
Yep. So, and again, I'm not a scientist. I don't really understand the whole concept of what genes should pass down, but I just know from experience that I've had way too many Partho clutches that the mom doesn't pass supers down. They're missing some of these genes.
Not every time.
Yeah, exactly. Not every time. So the last clutch that I had Partho before these was a blackhead chocolate desert ghost to a OD pin yellow belly het desert ghost. So in theory, because blackhead chocolate are allelic, all the babies should have been blackhead or chocolate.
Yep.
And then you had OD, pinstripe, yellow belly, and desert ghost to figure out. Half the babies died, and then we had a desert ghost female, or they're all females. But we had a desert ghost female, we had an orange dream female, and had a pinstripe that was probably yellow belly female in that clutch as well. Mm-hmm. So I didn't hit any ivories, I didn't hit any super ODs. Not all the clutch was visual desert ghost. So I've just had too many clutches to
kind of debunk that theory.
Right, basically. So anyway, I thought it was a really cool clutch anyway. I mean, definitely did not expect albino pods, from the pairing. Some of these girls have already taken some meals, like I said. Some of them haven't. But we've only offered once. We're going to offer again as soon as we get done with this video, see what happens.
This is really good info for newer breeders because you might think you just missed on some genes and you don't know no better.
Yep. Like I said, if this had been the only one that made it out of the clutch, you may have sold this as a KRG het pod and it may not be.
Correct.
So now I get asked a lot about, well, what's the longevity of Partho babies? If from what I understand and what I've noticed, I've never actually sold any animals at full retail price. I will sell these if they do good, but they're super discounted for pet price. But what I've noticed is if the babies hatch and they do well and they get 150, 200 grams, as long as they're eating, they usually do fine. Now, I've also noticed that some of these that don't eat usually don't make it.
Okay.
And it's a 50-50 shot. So half this clutch will probably end up not doing well, and then half the clutch probably will sell as pets. So, but I don't release anything until I'm very certain that they're doing good. And I've kept up with some people that have gotten some from me over the past years, whether they bought them or just gave them to them. Some of them are still doing great. And some of them, I don't know where they are because they haven't kept in touch. So I don't.
Brittany still has a couple.
Yep.
Right.
Brittany took a couple of them last year.
Super blackheads.
That she took them right out the egg. I didn't try to feed them or anything here. She took them home. Some of them fed and are still alive and doing good. Some of them haven't made it. So just it's really crazy though. That something can reproduce without any form of having a male.
Yeah, I know geckos do that a lot, right?
Geckos, well, all the reptiles can. I mean, if you start doing a lot of research on Partho, you'll see that animals that have been kept by themselves for 20 years will have a clutch of eggs. So.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, as far as breeding animals, I have heard that people raise these up and breed the females. No idea. On what kind of results.
So if you've bred a Partho and successfully done it, leave a comment below.
Yeah, because I've never heard, or honestly, I haven't done a whole lot of research because I don't really care. You know, truth is, I'm just putting that information for y'all. But I've never like got on Google and started researching Partho or, you know, asking around a whole bunch. So I don't know if people have bred these females and they had viable eggs and everything was fine or not. I don't know. I've heard in the retic world that people do it with retics. So
Okay.
I would assume ball pythons would be the same. But any species of animal can have Partho, reptiles anyway. So just keep that in mind. Use this information to the best of your judgment. Again, none of this is like solid scientific information. It's just my experience, my opinion. And I appreciate y'all watching, and see y'all next time.